everyone can hear clearly, but we strongly encourage you to dial in on the telephone for best sound quality. If you are listening to the presentation through your computer, please turn the volume up and listen on a headset. We will accept questions throughout the webinar using the questions and answer facility there on your screen. So go ahead and type in questions at any time, and I'll either answer myself or queue them up for our presenter. And now I'd like to turn you over to IronSpeed Sales Director, Rob. Rob?
Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us here in our training on mobile application development with IronSpeed Designer. Here is a quick overview of the things we're going to cover in today's webinar. I have a senior engineer here, Bill White, who's going to walk you through the ins and outs of mobile application development with IronSpeed. Just a couple quick things to get started. IronSpeed's been around a long time, at least as far as .NET RAD tools are concerned. We're the first to market. We have the best product available for .NET rapid application development, and we serve a lot of different verticals. The size and type of company that's using IronSpeed for their web application needs varies a great deal. Basically, the nuts and bolts of IronSpeed are to get you a database-driven web application as fast as humanly possible. There's not a quicker, faster, easier way to get it done. The application is incredibly easy to customize and very sleek, modern design. The biggest problem as far as application development is concerned is it's incredibly costly in both time and money. Luckily, there are RAD tools like IronSpeed available for you, and you don't have to be, a code head with 30 years of programming experience to get it done. What is a RAD tool? That's an excellent question. RAD tool is a way to get an application built quickly and easily. It's a multiple platform mobile application that IronSpeed will crank out. You can build a quick prototype. It's generated straight from your database schema. All you need to do is pick and choose the pages and tables that you want to focus on, configure a few features and settings, and you're done. Don't take our word for it, though. There's a ton of people using the software. These, as I said, vary a great deal in size and kind of company, but here are just a few examples of the folks that we're currently working with. And frankly, there's many thousands more. But anyhow, at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Bill White here, who's a senior engineer here at IronSpeed, and he's going to talk in detail about mobile application development with IronSpeed.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, we've started getting IronSpeed. I hope if you don't have IronSpeed, you can quickly follow along. Go to the IronSpeed website, fill in the form, put in your email address, and have us send you a key. Keys are free. It's a trial key, but it will activate the full version of IronSpeed Designer. Specify values for all fields. What did I miss? I missed phone number. Didn't it get the phone number? 228-3427? Yes, it did. What did it? Oh, Iris would have missed. Okay. And we'll start the download now and leave it. I'm going to save it into my temporary folder. And we'll come back to it later to show you what to do with it. For now, so we'll assume you have IronSpeed Designer, and if you do, then you can do exactly the same things that I'm doing today. First of all, we're talking about getting a mobile application that you can give to your users where they can access your information on the internet. It's today's mobile platforms, mostly predominated by Google and Apple. They have smartphones, tablets. But what we're talking about is the smartphone market. And each of those smartphones has a browser on it that allows the device to access the internet. And that's how we'll deliver your application. Your application will really be a web-based application where the browser of the device will access your content on the web. And this allows you to provide an application with a lot of the diversity screened out, because the web browsers are a great equalizer, and they make most of the content you provide available on a wide variety of devices. IronSpeed Designer, the current version 10.03, supports small screen phones, not tablets. Not tablets in the sense that the mobile web pages that are created are specifically created for the small screen format of the phone. And so, and they've been specifically designed for that. Now, tablets, which have larger formats, some very large format, actually support full-size web pages, which means that your full-size website can also provide information to your customers. You have really two options. You can use the full-size web pages, or you can use the mobile web pages and add panels for extra information. Either one will work, but generally I think providing the full-size web pages will work just fine. The mobile features of IronSpeed Designer, as I said, IronSpeed Designer builds web applications. It's a web application builder, but it builds pages in two formats. Here we go. What do we got? We got our download done, so I think we can put this away. It builds web pages in two formats. We're going to focus on the mobile format today, but as a result, you get a full-featured web application that serves your mobile users and serves your desktop users, all with the same functionality, the same style. So it appears as if it's all, and it is, all one application. You get all your necessary page types for whatever access to your data you want to give people. You get your sign in and sign out pages. You get the same database backing all your applications, so both your mobile users and your desktop users have the same access to your data. The code behind is virtually the same We use C# or VB. You have your choice. You get the same base classes that provide the foundation of much of the data access. You get the same customization model, and you share the data access code. We're going to do a series of demonstrations today just to get you a good picture of what you have to do to prepare your first mobile application. We call it a mobile application, but as I said, it is not a native application. It's the browser application using the browser of the phone to access your data in a web application, much more general and able to serve a wider number of users. We'll create all our pages. We're going to do mobile and full size at the same time so that you can use either one. And we're going to add security pages right away as soon as we create our application. And then we're going to start taking questions. Hopefully Kate is queuing up the questions over there or answering one she can answer herself. Kate and Rob and I will take care of your questions. So let's go to our first demo. We're going to start with opening up Iron Speed Designer version 10.03, which if you don't have it, you'll have it once you get the download from us. Later on, we'll make sure that happens. Iron Speed Designer will start up, and I'll reduce the size of my screen to get out of the webinar control here. Here we go. And it's as easy as creating an application. Now, for an application today, then we get our application wizard. The application wizard uses your database to provide you your web application. So we start with selecting the page style. This one is just fine. We have two families of page styles. We have a classic style, which exposes more controls and gives you everything right up front. We have a modern style, which is sleeker, has things in controls and pop-up boxes. The choice is really yours. Just when you select one of the styles, you can switch between any of the styles of that particular family, but you can't switch to the other style. So we're going to select the modern style today. We'll do it in Riesling, and we'll next select your database. Well, for the database today, we have our Southwind database. It's a sample database which comes with Iron Speed Designer in the sample databases folder. You'll see here it's already selected the place where my Iron Speed is installed in the sample databases folder. So we'll use that database. And access doesn't need any more information than that. Now we get the pages step where we select the pages we want to create and the tables that we want to create them from. We can select a full range of pages, but what we're striving for today is give you full access to your mobile. And mobile, you can create an add record page, an edit record page, the record mobile page, which is just to show one record, and the report mobile page, which is to show all the records in your table. And we'll make our web page, web application correspond so that for the web page, we'll take off these. We'll use the basic table page, the show record page, the add and edit record page, and then we'll get an equivalent set of pages for a web-based application. Now, we'll just pick a few of these tables. We'll do categories, and we'll do orders, and we'll do sales reps. That's enough to demonstrate the application we're going to make today. We have virtual primary keys and virtual foreign keys you can declare, but they aren't needed in this application, so we'll go ahead and continue. Now, Iron Speed Designer will build you multilingual applications, so just to demonstrate that, we'll go ahead and add with English, we'll add Dutch, and then you will see that we can present the fixed text of our application in either of the language, any of the languages we choose. That gives us a great ability to reach outside of our own country and to the other people of the world. Next step is the application settings. Here's where you pick the name of your application, where you're going to save it. This is just development details, and this is what we'll be using today. But now for what type of application, you can have a website, you can have a web application, or you can have web applications for SharePoint. We'll be building a simple website today, and we'll be using the code behind language. We'll be using Visual Basic because that's what Iron Speed Designer is developed in. We could also use C# if you prefer C#. They have the same capabilities. And we'll target this for the .NET 3.5 framework. That's up to you and what your servers will support. We'll come to the summary showing what we're about to create, the 9 pages for each of the 3 tables that we're creating. We'll go ahead and finish and let Iron Speed Designer chug through our selections and the table and the schema and build pages to access the data in our tables. And once we'll get through, we'll have a web application where you from your desktop can see the different pages and access the data, including adding and editing data if your login information allows you to do it. It depends on how you configure security. Because once we get our application, you can see it's built, and we're about to preview the startup page. The startup page will be in the categories table. We'll look at all the categories of products that are available in our sample database. This sample database is an order management system which has orders, it has products and categories, and it has sales reps, and is an excellent small database for testing and trying out different concepts in your application development. You'll notice as it's building, first it builds the code behind pages. We'll be focusing a lot on the Application Explorer, where you see what's been built. It shows you the folder for every table, and in that folder, the different pages that were created. We get the customers, and we get the orders, we get our orders pages, and we get our sales rep pages. Now, there are a lot of other folders there, and we'll talk about them as we go through our application. We've started out, and this is our web startup page, but what we want to see is where we start our mobile. So our preview panel here will show you a simulated mobile device. This is what you would get if you called into our web URL. Not that one. We go to here. Here's the Start Mobile page. You'll see the Start Mobile page. You'll see the start of our website, which is the menu for the different tables that we have access to. You can go to any of them. In particular, we'll go to the Show Categories and see that in the heading we have always to get back to the menu. We can do filters, have drop-down filters. We can add a record, or we can scan the records we have. This is not touch section. We'll use the mouse as a simulated finger so we can simulate scrolling on your device. And we can go to any of these records. We can see the records here, but if we want to see what's in a particular one, we'll have to use the Show Record, which just clicking on that will give us the screen to show what's in the content of that record. So we have complete freedom to look at all the records we have. Of course, we can always go back to our menu, go to our orders, go to our menu, go back to our sales reps. And so you can see how we've provided you with now complete access to the data that you want to present. You'll also notice that the pages for the mobile device, then you can simulate looking at them in either orientation, but they are basically formatted so that you will have to vertically scroll, but out of the box you shouldn't see any horizontal scrolling in your application. That's to make it easy to use on a mobile application. And there are a lot of different features, design decisions that went into the mobile pages versus the web pages. That's why it really requires two different sets. Now, you could develop these pages yourself, but if you do that, you're looking at really, if you're really good at it, weeks of activity, and if you're just starting out, months and months of activity to develop these pages, which IronSpeed, the designer, can give you right away. We've done it in less than 10 or 15 minutes. And once we get to these pages, we can customize them. But right now, we've got our application, but we don't have any login information required. So let's show you what we have to do to configure security. We'll just go up to our, well, first of all, we'll go to the design mode of Designer. In the design mode, we'll talk about the design mode in a little while. And hold on just a minute here. On my desk, there's a folder entitled Webinar on my desk. Would you bring it in? And so we're going to go to the Tools menu. We're going to open up the Application Security Wizard. And in the Security Wizard, we're going to select Database Security, because we have login information included in the sales rep table. So every sales rep will be able to log into this application with their login information and see all the information they need to access our system from wherever they need to be. And so we pick the sales rep table, and here the fields are fine. If we add the email address here, then on the login page, you'll also get a page for the users to go ahead and add, ask for their security information to be mailed to them. So even if they've forgotten it, they can get it right away checking their email. We won't configure, well, maybe we'll configure the Add Categories page, both the mobile page and the traditional web page, to require a login before you use it. This is the same kind of thing you do, only of course you'd secure more pages, but it will give you the ability to see what it's like and how your application will react. And that's it. We're ready to build the security into the application. IronSpeed Designer will take his selections, rebuild the pages, redo the code behind, and give us what we need. There we have it. Now let's go back to looking at the preview of our start page, mobile. Here we go. We don't care about, we don't want to disable security. We actually want to see it work. So as our start page starts up, now we're going to go to the categories page. And if we now try to access adding a record, whoops, I know what I forgot. You might notice that it didn't ask me to log in, which is not what we wanted, but we can go back to our start page. Let's go back to our security wizard. I'll show you what I forgot. In our security wizard, we can just continue with everything the same. In the pages, we selected the page for add categories. We didn't select that we wanted signed-in users only to access the page, and we didn't set the security because until the permissions are set here, no security is actually changed. That's all we need. We can finish now and update the application again. Make sure that it does it right this time, and we'll see what we get. Now, it's important, really important, I think, to realize that we're preparing and focusing on mobile pages today. But at the same time, you've got a whole set of web pages that all of your users can use from any desktop computer as long as they have access to the web. This is incredibly powerful and gives you great accessibility in just no time flat. Let's go. We'll try and access this. And instead of getting our categories page to add a categories record, we get the sign-in record. So you can see that how it works, no problem. Meanwhile, we can go to any other records that we want to look at. Let's take a look at the slides. That's really the application creation. And we've created the application. Let's see if I've covered everything I wanted to. We did the security. We talked about mobile and full size. So the next thing we'll do, and we're ready for questions, and I think I've got a couple here. Oh, yeah, okay. What is the difference between a website and web application? A good question, Jared, and one we often get asked. The details are in Microsoft's site where they talk about their web organizations. I'll give you a quick rundown. Basically, a website is a location-dependent site where your website is all under one folder. Now, IronSpeed Designer builds web applications all under one folder. We have a main folder, and that is your application. In a website, everything in that folder is included in the application. Things are positioned in specific folders, and otherwise, the code behind is hidden in a specific place. Let's just take a look at what we've got. We've got the Application Explorer here. You can see the website itself. Here's our main folder. We have the app code folder. This is where you'll find the code behind for all of our products, for all of our tables. We have a themes folder. We'll talk about more of these as we do an application tour in just a little while. But the key is for a website, these are folder specific. You find your code in the app code folder. There's otherwise no organization to it. In a web application, there will be project files. If you're familiar with Visual Studio at all, you know it uses a project file organization. So there's a project file which contains the contents of whatever application you're working on. IronSpeed Designer builds web application as 3 separate projects. It builds a user interface project, and then it builds a business layer project and a data access layer project. So that's the basic difference. Also, web applications are pre-compiled, and normally you only send into your server the compiled code, and you send of course, the ASPX files, the display files, the layout files, but the code behind is all compiled, and so is not available in its uncompiled form on the web server. The website does dynamic pre-compile on the fly of all your code behind. You have your pages. It's much easier to update a website. It's more secure and faster to send the whole application over compiled as a web application. You can really use either one. It's up to you. I prefer websites for most test development, but of course on a large application development, I would probably use a web application. And So if a mobile web app works in a full-size screen too, it seems more versatile than a native mobile app. Are there any drawbacks to web versus native? Well, the drawback is what we always hear about. This is not a true native device application. In other words, it's not an application like IronSpeed Designer produces web applications. They don't run on your computer. They run in your web server. And your web server serves pages to anybody's browser. And as I said, that's a great equalizer because it means that anybody can get your web pages that has a browser, and everybody has a browser. So it's sort of a trade-off. It depends on what you want, but for most things, and especially for data-backed applications like we are excellent at, you won't find any better way to get them than using the web to centralize the data access and make sure everybody's working on the same page. And that's about it, Kyle. Does IronSpeed support iOS and Android apps also? And as I said, it's not about native applications. So your IronSpeed Designer mobile application can be viewed on Android phones, on iOS phones, and any other phones that have a browser. And the web pages are all .NET web pages, and they're served from a .NET web server. How does mobile application layout different from that of a web application? That's a really good question. I didn't go into that nearly enough, but there's probably a good demonstration. Let's take the orders page. Now, even before that, let's go down and go back to our sales representative. So let's look at what you see when you ask for the sales representative table. Here you go, very simple. Of course, we can see any record, but we get the picture and the name of the sales representative. But now let's look at what the web application looks like. And here we go. We have the sales rep table, and here we have the sales rep table for this traditional web application. You'll notice the wide variety, the much more information that's available. We have actions we can filter, we can produce PDF reports, we can produce Word reports, we can enter, we can filter our information, we can sort, we can filter by any number of items, and this is all customizable, of course. We can search here. And so you see the difference between what's available in the screen space on a web application and the screen space on a mobile application. The same information is available, and you don't lose any real functionality, but you get to see much more with a web application rather than a mobile web application. How many languages does IronSpeed Designer support, and can it handle right-to-left languages? The answer is IronSpeed Designer, the language facility is built with language template files. So along with IronSpeed Designer, you get a template that shows you the phrases that are used in the fixed text of the application. There's a lot of them, and it's a fairly large file. And you can fill in then with that in an XML file the translations to be used. And those translations, if the person selects that language, the language that file is a template for, then those translations will be shown in the application. Now, we provide a number, I don't know whether it's somewhere between 10 and 20 languages that there are already translations for. You don't have to pick them. Of course, Dutch is one of them. Why don't we, let's go back to the menu. We go back and we'll look at our widget here. And notice that we can select the language Dutch. If we select Dutch, then we see that the fixed text of the application here, the only thing that's fixed text here, this is, of course, a logo, which is you provide and is fixed. It does not come as text. This is a picture. And these are names from the database. So names from the database aren't translated. We don't do active translation. We do fixed text translation. So all the fixed text in your application will now be shown in Dutch. And so let's just look at what that like. See, you can see here again, text from the database, not translated. Text from all this names from the database, they show up with whatever's in the database. The text that comes as fixed part of the application is translated. So let's go back. I'll change it back to English because I can't read Dutch really. That's unfortunate, but there are a lot of languages I can't read. I'm behind the curve on a lot of that. Anyway, and does it handle right-to-left languages? Yes, it does. We can handle right-to-left languages. Now, one thing to watch out for, if you're using right-to-left languages, Hebrew, Arabic are the biggest ones that we support. We also do Chinese and a number of others. So anyway, if you use a right-to-left language, remember that IronSpeed Designer doesn't do dynamic flipping of the layout. So switch it. If you have a right-to-left application, you have to declare your application as right-to-left or left-to-right. Once you do that, you will want to have that application for just that particular set of languages. If you want to do both right-to-left and left-to-right, the really only practical way that I'm aware of to get it completely right is to do parallel applications, because you can't, it's kind of messy switching from right to left and left to right in one application. Yes, and as I was going to ask Rob if he had any things to say, and then he gets a question. So.
Duraj asks, I'm loving the ease of work with IronSpeed, hence I need to know the cost of this luxury. That's kind of my department. So all of our pricing is actually available on the website. You just need to go to www.ironspeed.com/buy, and you'll see all of the pricing. Basically, there's two ways to license the product. We have a monthly subscription option, and then there's two perpetual license options. Obviously the starting point usually with our sales team here is testing the software, and we do everything in our power to ensure that, the evaluation process when looking at IronSpeed goes smoothly. The sales team is certainly available to answer questions and, direct folks to resources and that kind of a thing. But yeah, if you have a question about pricing, certainly feel free to reach out to your sales rep or write sales@ironspeed.com, and we'll have somebody follow up to you. But the monthly subscription is $249 a month. The way that works is basically you sign up, we give you access to the full version of the software, all of the training courses that we offer, of which, this is a free one. We have many more trainings that are more in-depth and advanced that cover many of the features in much more detail. And those are all free as long as you have a licensed version of IronSpeed. So thanks for the question, Duraj. I'm going to turn it back to Bill.
Okay, I'll answer a couple more questions. Anyway, I noticed a number of the questions I've got are really covered in the other parts of the webinar, so we're going to go ahead and continue. I'll take a couple out here. We have Jared. Jared asks, what is the configure button? I assume this is what you mean, Jared, and this is the language selection. And the configure button is for language selection. That's all configuration we have. Of course, it's customizable if you'd like to add other elements of configuration to your application, but right now it's just a language selection. We have the sign-in widget, which appears here once you've configured security for your application. Who hosts this application so that others can access via the web? Well, that's what you arrange. Normally, people have their own web host. They have the same place that you have your website. You can probably host this web application. This is just a .NET web application. And so wherever you host your web applications is where you will host this one. Does IIS support HTTPS as well? HTTPS is really, I believe, a function of it configured in IIS. This is a standard .NET website, And so it supports both HTTP and HTTPS pages. Okay, let's look at our slides, and because the questions have started, you can submit questions at any time, and we love the questions that are coming in. I'm going to try and cover all the content and all the questions before the end of the webinar. We did our application, and we're going to do our application tour now, which is a little more in-depth look at the application we've created. We're going to see that we get all the pages we need for full data access. We're going to see the menus, the security pages, which we already went through. We'll take a look at where they are and what's going on with them. And we'll look at how we have master pages and styles. We have shared components, the headers and footers, and the images. So let's go back to our demonstration, back to our application here. Now we're going to be focusing, since this is just to talk about web applications, and that's the primary difference between the mobile web applications and the web applications themselves is the layout, the form that they will fit in. So that means we're going to be talking about the layout pages. But there's also here in IronSpeed, you have access to your database layer, which affects both of the applications. So you'll be able to configure your properties for your database in the databases folder. We won't talk about that because we're going to focus on our mobile application. If you look in the Application Explorer, this is where we can access all our pages, all the files that go into the application, including the code behind files. Now, there are two ways to configure it, and if we go to the View menu for our files, if you know, you can display safe source files only. That means files that it's safe for you to customize if you're into customizing the code behind files. But one of the real good things about IronSpeed is that you can create a tremendous application without resorting to any particular code customization. There are some things that require code customization, but there's nothing that you just have to provide access to your data. Everything can be done without any code customization. So we're going to focus on that today. Code customization is another topic. You believe me, this is a full-featured ASPX web application that you can customize to your heart's content. You can do everything you want, but the idea of IronSpeed is to save you money, give you things quick out of the box. So we're going to try and focus on that. But we're going to look at all the source files. We're not just going to look at just the safe source file. So now you'll notice here the different icons for the pages, and this is to show you these are the pages that go for mobile applications. So you see the difference right away. We have an Edit Categories mobile page, and the equivalent page for our full web application is here. You see the difference, and you can examine yourself. You can take the IronSpeed Designer that you're going to get when you download and use your trial key. You can take that and build your own, the same as I've done here with the sample database, and explore all the differences you want, and that's why we want you to do it. One of the keys is where your start pages are. You'll notice here we have a start page mobile. My preview sometimes has trouble with scripts, so do you want to continue running scripts? Sure, we'll continue running scripts. The start page mobile is the start page, the default start page. And also we have a default start page for the web application, which is the Show Categories page. We can move those around. We can configure them any way we want. But you also notice that when I went through the categories, we have the Show Categories table. And from the table, you can see an individual category. You can edit an individual category. Whoops, wrong one. Sorry about that. You can edit an individual category on the mobile page, and you can add an individual category. So that's the complete set of pages needed to expose and deal with your data. So everybody who has access to these pages will be able to update your database. Now, with that, we also have controls that are used in common. The headers and footers are particularly handy because headers and footers for mobile are different than, let's take a look at the header for the mobile. The header for the mobile is used on the menu page. The footer for the mobile is used on all the pages and provides you just the footer line. You can change, of course, customize any of this, but the header for the full-size web page is just the mobile and the widget, is just the icon and the widget, so that their logo will be displayed on all parts. Now let's take a look at the master pages, because all of these pages are run from master pages. Let's open it up. We notice we have a mobile master page, and it shows us the master page, which just consists normally of the footer and the page content. So that's what we see. But we have the web master page, and you notice the web master page contains the icon, the logo, and the widget, and the menus. So there's a difference between the full-size web application and the mobile application. Now you can customize them both, so it doesn't matter. It's the same techniques. What we use to customize any of the applications is just our design mode, where we would go to our page. Let's take a look at our show orders table, for instance. We're looking at an order, and here we can see the content of the page. Now the content of these pages are very rich, but you'll see that every page, this is the show orders page. It starts with a master page and has the different sections the table controls. But if we compare that to the mobile page, we see the mobile page all has controls and labels lined up so that it fits in the screen size that we're looking at. So this is where you can go and customize any of your pages to make. Now you'll notice a web page, or the mobile page, also has the organization where it shows the mobile page, the record control that we're looking at, then any order detail. Here it's an order details. It's the child table controls that go along with it, and it has the panels that go along with that. What you're primarily interested in, of course, is the fields here, but you can change any of these to do whatever you want simply by dragging and dropping in the design grid. Now let's see. Those are the pages. We looked at the headers and footers. Now the pages are all controlled by styles, and in your Application Explorer, you'll see we have the Riesling theme. That's what we selected. There are two files called base styles, and this is all the CSS that controls the look and feel of your application. Along with that, we have a customization styles folder where you can take the way to customize the styles here is to take any of the styles from base styles. If you want to customize it, you just copy it and go to the styles folder, paste it in the styles folder, because the style, whatever's in the styles folder, will override what's in the base styles folder. And so you can change your styles. If you need to delete something, of course you can't do that. Or you can do it by changing the settings, but you can't say take it away here. You have to override it. And that's about it. That's how you change the styles. We talked about the menus and where you can change the menus. We haven't seen, because there is not only does header and footer, we have master pages, we also have menu panels. And in your menu panels, there is of course the start page, menu start page, but we have the menu for the mobile pages, so we can customize that by just configuring the menu. And then you can move things around in your menu. You can move them around. You can change the URLs. Now, one of the big differences in mobile pages, the menus are single level. Let's just take a look at that. We'll commit this change, and we'll take a look at the mobile menu. Notice mobile menu just gives you one layer. If I look at my menu for my other pages, you'll see I have two-level menus. And so that's one of the differences in mobile applications. Now, we could, let's see, we've talked about security, we talked about master pages. There is also here the shared components. Here's where you'll find all the, where is my shared folder? Here it is. You'll find many of the controls, the particular ones that are good for mobile. Remember to look for the mobile icon to see which controls. These are ASCX controls, and they control the different, mostly the pagination. Other controls are used in common for both pages if they're needed. You can use any of the controls for a full-size web application in a mobile page, but you may find that the size difference is not really what you wanted, and so you'll probably want to stick to just mobile components in developing your mobile application. And we have shared components, header, footers. The other thing that's of interest is you'll find your images for all the images, and in the images folder we have all the images we use, and you'll notice that there are also some custom mobile images. And here, so when some of the things look a little different, you can see why. I think I saw a question later, which we'll get to, and about why some of the mobile looks different. Can you make the web application look the same, or can you make them look the same? And you can if you work on your image, if you want to have images. We constantly try to do that. Does IronSpeed Designer, so let's, after looking at the general tour of the application, does IronSpeed Designer build a set of admin pages to manage users and roles? Or do we have to set the permissions in IronSpeed? No, the IronSpeed Designer builds you pages for anything in your database. In this particular database, you may have noticed that if we look at it, there are folders for roles, sales reps, roles, and sales reps. So you can, and then you can build pages and you can manage them. So no problem. You don't have to do it, go back to IronSpeed Designer. Well, IronSpeed Designer builds standard web applications. So you can build an application in IronSpeed Designer, then deploy it. You can edit it in a text editor, in Visual Studio, and you don't have to go back to IronSpeed Designer. Of course you can, but if you want to do that, then you need to adhere to IronSpeed Designer design criteria. We give you some very specific criteria about how to modify things so that you can continue to use IronSpeed Designer to modify your application along with Visual Studio. So it is a very good code model for allowing you to make code changes which persist across all the changes in your application, and so your code changes are never lost. I have a question about, does IronSpeed Designer support SharePoint 2013 and SQL 2012? Well, SQL 2012 you can use. There are a couple of features which are not which I don't know exactly which ones they are. The newer features of SQL 2012, which we don't support yet, but generally you can use an SQL 2012 database, no problem. Does it support SharePoint 2013? Not yet. Will you be providing CSS files that will resemble the mobile devices? Okay, here's the question I was thinking of when I showed you the images for the mobile, because some of the look and feel for mobile devices is from the images. Well, images you can't change with CSS. They are what they are. So if you need to change those images, then you produce new images. But the CSS is the same for all the applications. Now, I showed you that the mobile uses different. Let's take a look at our application, and we'll go back to our, in our Application Explorer. Let me close up the images, which take up a lot of space, and go back to look at the styles. And you'll see in the styles, if we search for mobile, if we go to mobile, we'll see that there are specific mobile styles. And so because you can customize your And so here we have mobile page styles, and here are the mobile page styles, which are different than the standard ones. Some are the same, some are different, but you have complete freedom of using whatever styles you want. So it's really already there. You can use whatever CSS you need in your application. Can you create a custom web page layout? You sure can, because let's just do it. We go to new, we can go to any folder, create a new blank mobile page. It gives us a blank mobile page, which we don't want to look at in preview. And here we are. We can now go ahead and customize our page. Drop in any things we want. And with that, why don't we go look at the part of the slides about customization. We can do layout changes. We can do panel creation. We can do charting. We can do code customization. Oh, I don't think we'll get to any code customization. And we use the other toolbox controls. In particular, when you're talking about a page, let's go back to our custom page. Here we have on the right, we have properties, the properties panel, and we have the toolbox. Now the toolbox is open. The toolbox gives us access to all the controls, headers and footers, specific. You'll notice some are grayed out because we're on a mobile page. Some of these we don't think are handy for mobile. They're the wrong size or whatever. So we give you emphasis on the controls that will be most handy in your mobile application. You can use any control you want. You can create full-size web pages and show them on a mobile device if you want. Again, we don't take the power out of your hands. We try to guide you to use things that'll help you, but you're free to customize your application any way you want. We have reports and forms. This is very important. Here's where we'll get all our panels, and we can take any one of our existing pages and drop a new panel in. In particular, we can do a report for unrelated tables. Let's look at the tables. Let's drop in a products panel here. So we'll make a new products panel, and we could do this on one of our existing pages. Just add a panel to the end of it or on the side of it. Depends on what you want. All we're looking for here is a mobile report. We're going to do a report for the products table. We can use the standard AppGen options. We'll get the page layout, and we can display the particular set. But of course, we can customize any of this. We can take away any fields. We can add fields. And then we can choose what's to be searchable. We'll just keep the standard ones here. Finish, and we'll have a new page now, My Page Mobile, which contains what we've customized it with. Now, of course, you'll want to add this into a menu, but you already saw it. We can customize our menu. We can make our menus go where we want. We can add links to our pages, and so you can really build your whole web application completely the way you want. How does the browser differentiate between mobile, phone, tablet, and full browser pages? Let's just show you that because that's very important, one of the most asked questions. In your application, remember we have one application. It shares both mobile users and full-size web users. In the web config file, in your application settings, you'll find here mobile user agents. Your mobile user agents is a list of text user agents sent by the browser, and these user agents, the user agent is a field sent by the browser, which tells your web server what application, what kind of device is accessing it. We use these user agents to determine whether it is a web or a smartphone browser or whether it's a regular web device. This is only interpreted in one place. When the application first comes to your website, it goes to the default page, and when it goes to the default page, the code behind that's used in the default page gives us a setting for whether this is a mobile application or a regular web application. From there on, If you set a mobile application and you make its menus go to a full-size web page, it will, and it will try to display it. Of course, you'll have to do a lot of scrolling. I wouldn't recommend it, but that's where it's determined. It's determined by the mobile user agent in the web config on the default page. Is the menu wizard different for mobile apps? No, Scott, the menu wizard, all the internal design of IronSpeed runs the same whether you've got a mobile application or whether you've got a web application. Love these mobile webinars. We get lots of questions, and hardly even get to cover our own content because we get so much question. But that's good, because that means hopefully you're getting what you want out of this. This is exactly what my company needs. The pricing look like. Rob talked to you about pricing. Can you pull up the pricing page? I sure can. We can go to our website. We can go to IronSpeed Designer, and we go pricing and ordering. Yes, and Rob, did you want to look at anything particular?
Yeah, so we've had a couple more questions about licensing and pricing, so I just thought I'd give the rundown real quick again. So basically, as I said, there's a monthly subscription license, and then there's a perpetual license. A lot of folks like to get started with the monthly subscription just when they're testing the software even, only because, it can really accelerate your evaluation process, and the testing cycle can go much more quickly when you have access to the full version of the software and the training courses and some tech support help as well. And at $249 a month, it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, even if you shave only a few hours off of your testing cycle, that can make a lot of sense for most folks. But ultimately, if you're putting stuff into production, most corporate and government organizations want to have a perpetual license. Those start at $26.95, as you can see there, which includes a year of software updates and support, and there's also a 2-year option, which is clearly the best value. There are multi-seat discounts on perpetual licenses, so keep that in mind if you have a team of folks you're looking to get started. I should also mention, licensing is done on a single machine named user basis. So, all we ask is that you get a license for each person in your organization that needs to use the software. There's no other fees really associated with using IronSpeed. No server license fees, runtime fees, end user fees, anything like that. You pay for the development license. You can generate as many applications as you want, deploy them wherever you'd like. So it's incredibly flexible from that standpoint. We have Scott asking, what's the pricing after 2 years? Bill, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down on that page a little
Sure,
bit.
no problem.
For me.
How far down?
A little bit too far, actually. There we go. So there's software update subscriptions. So, after 2 years, for example, if you purchased a 2-year perpetual license, you could just continue on with software updates only. After having a couple years of IronSpeed use under your belt, we find most folks, tech support's inexpensive, so a lot of folks will just continue on. It's a nice to have at that point, but you're welcome to just continue on with software updates if that's your preference. Again, all of the training courses that we offer are directly tied to your software update subscription. So, as I said, we have many, many training courses, of which this is one, just one of many. And, really the trainings are one of the most valuable aspects of what we're offering. And people find a ton of value with those. I think we covered just about everything that people had, so I'm going to hand it back to Bill then.
Okay, well, what I wanted to do was just quick, whoops, what are we looking at in my PowerPoint slides, not my we talked about panel creation, we talked about layout. We didn't do layout changes. I should show you just a real quick idea of layout changes, because we can go to our, let's see, to our sales rep page. Let's look at our show sales rep mobile here. Now we see, suppose we wanted to just show the first name, so we can take one off. Now we can add other controls. We can go to our toolbox here. We can go to fields, labels, sums, and counts. We have a wide variety of fields you can drop in here. In particular, we could drop in your birth date, and we could add fields to the right, or we could add fields underneath. No problem, just drop them in. If we want to add the email address in here, that'll probably make it too wide, so we might want to make it go underneath. Either way, I really don't want it, but to demonstrate, we're going to change this. Now, if we go to the cell editor and edit the cells, we're going to be able to change the color of that. We can change anything we can add in the HTML here. Let's make this fuchsia. So we say we want to make it fuchsia. We'll make this whole cell fuchsia. And now if we preview our page, we'll see how we've changed the layout and changed the contents of the cell. We can also, and I showed you, of course, dragging in the panel. Well, you're not only limited to dragging in panels. Let's just take a look at all the things that are in the design mode. In the toolbox, you have individual fields. We have label aggregate fields that you can drag in. We have filters you can add, which show different filtering methods. You can put them in the right place. We have specific buttons, and then we have the general AJAX and ASPX controls. All of these controls, including Gen: control, these are IronSpeed Designer versions, proprietary versions. The controls are proprietary, but they translate into ASPX controls directly, so that for design, they will be just give you a little extra code behind and property help, and then they produce standard ASPX controls on your page. So your web application is completely standard. We have HTML and we have validation. You have all these choices for dragging and dropping to include in your web page. They have, again, we have the charts. You can take a chart and drag it into your page. You can customize your code, and you can use other toolbox controls. And one of the things we haven't done, I mentioned a couple times the application generation options, but you should know that your application generation options control a wide variety of things. One of the things you might want to, since you're focusing on web applications, is for the web page option, the pages to create will show you which pages are created standard and which ones are not created standard. And here you can, whoops, not web page, where am I at my mobile page options, pages to create. Notice none of them are standard because we had to select them ourselves. If you want to make sure that all web pages are created standard in your application, just change this to yes for whatever you want. Once you do, of course, that'll happen for this application, which we've already created the web pages, but if you want it to apply as default, just set apply as default down here. So, and the other application options apply the same way. So there are all these options which control how your application works. Now I have a question here. Talk about some questions. Is it possible to apply Bootstrap to create responsive web applications? I'm not sure what you mean, George. If you could tell me what you mean by Bootstrap. Responsive web application, I think you'll find that IronSpeed Designer applications are as responsive as all web applications, and it depends on what you put in them, of course. It's all about what you put on the page. Can you add to the generated code? Would my additions be preserved if I had to regenerate? Yes, you can, Roman. Let's just take a look. We have code here. Now, I told you this is a, let me just cancel the application generation options. Let's look at, we have our sales rep. We have a show sales rep table. Suppose I had to add some code to that table. Well, the code for it is in the app code section. You'll find for our sales reps, you'll find the show tables mobile code behind. In every code behind file, now there's also an ASPX code behind down with sales reps, and it also has section 1 and section 2. Section 1 is where you put your code customizations. Things in section 1 will not be overwritten, not be replaced. And so if you want to change anything in section 2, you do it by overriding what's in Section 2 in Section 1, and that's as simple as that. And things in Section 1 will not be changed, so they're always preserved for you. Is there support from the tool for placing the UI presentation code and the data access code into separate application layers? Well, your UI presentation code here is in the pages themselves, in the design of the pages. So your page design is there. Your code behind is in the, where do we go for shippers, app code, here we go. In the business layer, you'll see business layer code and data access layer code. And so here we have for our customers, we have data access layer, business layer. So you have that all segregated for you right away. Will IronSpeed eventually provide custom CSSL for specific mobile devices? We don't envision targeting specific mobile devices. The reason that we think this is such a good approach is that the generality it gives. You can service all of the mobile devices that people have. We don't see the mobile device market really settling down and making one predominant purveyor. I think that you're going to see lots and lots of devices, and an approach like this where you have centralized presentation of the application to all the devices is really going to get you ahead of the game. Yeah, and for maintenance, of course, because you don't have all of the maintenance for all those different devices. Believe me, it's bad enough with just the features that are available in different browsers, having to worry about different browsers and having to worry about the different capabilities, and we take care of all that for you. So if you're using IronSpeed Designer, there's a lot of pre-testing that goes into all of your capabilities. Is IronSpeed compatible with IE10 now? Yes, it is. I use it every day. That's what's on my machine. Can IronSpeed render reports for end users? Rendering reports is simply a page you design. You can design any page you want. We have some very good, we call them email and print report pages, which are full-size pages. You can use that as a model. You can try and look at that on a mobile device, but you could also copy a page like that and modify it for the mobile format and be ready to go. Of course, we do produce PDF reports, but then you have to have a print device, or you can look at the PDF in your browser. Save it and then print it off later. Okay, let me see where we are in our slide. We have some time to go. Yeah, so we looked at customization. We're going to talk briefly. I think we've really covered most of this. How you have web applications only or mobile applications only. Well, that depends on the pages. The real benefit of Designer is that they both exist in the same environment. You can have web pages. You can have mobile pages, and they both exist together and they work together. You mix them, as you saw, just by creating them. The only real differences you have to worry about is the menus and how they work. But once you're looking at them, the content and the code, the data that they're working from is all the same. You saw the data, how we determine where the device comes from. You can use menus. You can use the menus to actually direct between both pages. But I haven't met anybody who's really found that a very handy way to do it. You're much better off sticking with the different formats, because that's why we design different pages. You want to have pages that really look good on the format of the device, and the smartphones are so much different than the other ones that it's very handy to have the different formats. We have mixing mobile and web panels. We talked about that. You can mix anything you want, but be aware of the formats. And I think now, we do talk about some of the browser limitations. Of course, this is a dynamic slide. The browsers change all the time, and this was prepared a while ago. I'm not even sure it's current right now exactly. You always have to keep on top of this and And this is one of the things using Iron Speed Designer does for you. You get a current version of Iron Speed Designer. We're always looking at the latest browsers. And so we will try and accommodate the Safari, the Chrome, the Firefox, and the IE. Those are the things. Now, Safari, you have some limitations, and you can see them here. Chrome, you have them. You'll just have to work with them. But by and large, the essence of your application will work on all the browsers. Okay? And so now we want to talk about getting Iron Speed Designer, because I really think you ought to try this yourself. And so that's easy to do. Let's just take a look at my page here. You should have one of these too. You will have an Iron Speed Designer product key in your mail. So now all you've got to do is, remember I downloaded the file to my temporary folder. So in my temporary folder, I will have my Iron Speed Designer set up. Now I can't run this here because it's already installed. It'll just tell me that, oh, you've got it installed already. You don't need it. So we're going to just look at it in the slides. If I go ahead and start up my Iron Speed Designer setup folder, you'll see the license screen. You'll see the destination where we'll try and put it in your program files folder. You can do that, and I recommend the standard location. Then you'll wait a while. It will copy the files to your app, to your desktop, to your computer, and then you'll get to launch Iron Speed Designer. Once you go ahead and finish and launch Iron Speed Designer, it's really that simple. That's all there is to it. Now the only step you've got left is use the product key out of your email so that you can register your Iron Speed Designer. We put in the product key here. Just cut and paste it from your designer here. We go just, whoops, no, sorry, right, that's my designer. What I want is the key. So you just copy and paste. Come on, get over here. Where is it? Here it goes. Copy and paste it from here. Paste it into your activation screen. And you'll be good to go. And you'll get the application wizard, and you can start right away. You don't even need your own database. Of course, I'd love to have you test it on your own database, but use the sample database. You can do the same kind of things we've done here. And so now, that's pretty much our training session. We're going to spend a couple minutes. We're gone way past our time, but that's okay. We're here to answer your questions. We're going to let Rob tell you some other sales questions first, and then I'm going to talk about where you go for more training in other parts of Iron Speed Designer.
I have one more sales-related question. Mike asks, the monthly subscription plan covers old versions of Iron Speed as well? Question mark. I need version 7.
No.
So the way that the monthly subscription works is it was introduced in version 8. So you can use, I believe it's 8.2 and 8.02 maybe, and forward with a monthly subscription. Mike, if you have a version 7 and perpetual license, my recommendation would be just renew that. That's going to be a better bang for your buck anyways. But you know, that kind of a question, certainly I would reach out to your sales rep and discuss your options with them. We're happy to talk about stuff like that for you, with you, and determine what kind of makes the best sense for your situation. Last call for questions, I think, probably now, but sorry, bear with me for one moment. Mike asks, which version still covers WSS 3.0 old SharePoint? That's a good question, Mike. If you give your sales rep some follow-up, I'll put somebody in touch with you. Right now, Iron Speed supports versions 2007 and 2010 of SharePoint. I think version. You know, I'm gonna have to take it offline, Mike. We'll get somebody to follow up with you, and we can hash that out. So last call for questions. If you got them, let us know. I'm gonna hand it back to Bill.
Okay, let's talk about, just quickly, where you go because for more training, more knowledge about Iron Speed Designer. We have an excellent training session. Go to our website. You've already seen our website, hopefully. You have training courses. This is one of them. We have many more. Check our training schedule on the website. We have an excellent online help. If you start to have a question with Iron Speed Designer, then you go to the online help page, and you'll get all the answers you need there. And in particular, let's go to online help. Let's take a look at the online help page, because it's very important that we have a search box which gives you Google search coverage of the entire content of the online help, which is over 1,000 pages. And in addition to the online help, you can also get our technical forums. You can, of course, join the forums, see any questions, and ask your own questions, but you can search the forums too, because the content of the forums is all indexed in the search box for online help, so you get both help content and forum content, and making search a very powerful tool for getting the answers you want. And Rob has been telling you, talk to your sales rep. Well, that's what you should do, because these are the guys who know the options. Their business is to make sure you get the resources you need for the project you want. You don't want just Iron Speed Designer. You want Iron Speed Designer to do a project, and that involves some planning of resources and everything else. Your sales rep is the guy to talk to get that done. We have, and that brings us to the end. Any questions in now will get answered, and otherwise you can hold them for the next time. Does the generated code and forms follow any design pattern like MVC? We have, of course, our own design pattern, and we don't follow MVC. We, as I showed you, have the Section 1, Section 2 for preserving your code. We are, of course, generally .NET compatible, which means that you override classes, you override methods, and it's all standard .NET, and that's what we have. And with that, I think that brings us to the end. Thank you very much for attending. We'll be back next week. We'll be back with the standard Getting Started webinar, but we answer on Friday webinars. We answer your questions for the subjects we're talking about, so come anytime, and have a good day.